Always a polished diamond, which is exactly how I like it, which is exactly how I am. And let me put this over here so you can hear me. And that probably better explains the font choice of the cover of the book. I hope you all liked it. I hope you like the cover of the book and look at it carefully, both the front and the back. There's a lot in there. It's quite dense. But anyways, I just want to say a good morning to all of you. And I hope this is an amazing morning. We're going to start this off with a positive day. We're going to have a few laughs today. I promise we're going to have a few laughs. And I hope those laughs will carry you on through the day. We're going to talk about some of the clown show that we're watching occur in Ottawa that I will be participating in November, that I don't have a choice of, but whatever. It is what it is, but it is, sometimes watching a dumpster fire can be quite entertaining, and I think that's exactly what we're watching, and I'll explain all of that. Good morning, Beth. Thank you for being here, like always. Lisa, Tom, Ryan, how's it going, brother? It's good to see you. Thank you for... So, what'd you think yesterday? Anyways, we'll get on to that in a minute. So exciting. It's so funny. I actually had that nonsense on all day long while I was working, and I don't know. I found it entertaining. I found it hugely entertaining. So I'm actually going down to the States today. I'll be in my truck as soon as this is done. Close up my laptop, throw it in my bag, hop in my car, and drive over to my truck, pick it up, and head down to the U.S. So I'm going to try to stream all of it and listen to all of it. And I don't know, maybe I should be, when I'm here, the days that I'm here, maybe I should stream it live. That would probably be one day a week or so, and offer some commentary. I mean, I could just say, lie! Anyways. Claudette, good morning. Lori, good morning. Ryan says, I'm enjoying the dumpster fire of the Chief of Defense Staff. Begging for recruits. Yeah, that's another thing. They're begging for recruits now. Anyways, you know what? Get woke, go broke, right? We got to figure out how that applies to government. There's got to be a way we can get it to apply. Good morning, Kiss Junkie. It's good to see you too. Anyways, and some people keep asking me, how's my ankle? It's better. I can walk. It hurts every morning. It's stiff and it clicks like crazy. But yesterday was the first day ever for people who are car people that I could threshold brake and downshift at the same time while, it's the thing you do. When you're on a racetrack, you do it a lot. But anyways, I can kind of move my... ankle, like, I don't know, 80%. I'm getting there. Apparently it's another 10 months or so till I'll be able to run on the treadmill again, which is why the treadmill is just sitting there doing absolutely nothing. And the only cardio I can do at the gym is rowing, but it is what it is. Okay, anyways. Oh, and I posted this question yesterday. It's on my Twitter. Please please share it if you can. I was wondering, maybe I should do a poll. Should I transition before I go into this clown show in Ottawa? Because, prosthetic boobs are all the rage now, right? And maybe, just maybe, I'll feel like a woman that day, right? I'm going to do something, by the way. I'm going to do something. So, nothing all that bad. Anyways, so it is what it is. All right, so first, also, please like, share, subscribe this feed because I'm going to try to... I can't talk too much because I want to save some stuff for testimony that are relevant and important. But, we need to build out that counter narrative to when people are lying. And like it or not, and the people who like me or dislike me, and I don't know what I ever did to them for them to dislike me, I am in a unique position to tell exactly who's telling the truth and who's lying or who's somewhere in between. And there's a lot of that too. Kiss Junkie, I missed that question on Twitter. Yes, do it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Okay. Anyways. All right. So let me just get into a few things. So yesterday, I did I'm using that Chinese spyware, that CCP spyware TikTok on my burner phone, and hopefully it's not infecting my stuff too much, but who knows? Maybe Justin Trudeau is just watching directly. I did a little, quick little, video of I'm going to call them WTF videos, where yesterday, it was shortly into the commission that I got wind of it. I wasn't watching this part. Somebody let me know that the RCMP are the victims. That's right. The RCMP, they're the victims, right? Good morning, Moby. It's good to see you, brother. So why are the RCMP the victims? Like any rational human being with a functioning brain cell would just say, WTF, how are the RCMP the victims? Good morning, Lisa. Well, apparently, the RCMP refuses to divulge the list of officers that were in Ottawa. Why? The reason is because those officers could be potentially doxxed. That's right. Officers, and listen, by the way, I have a lot of compassion for police officers. I have family who are police officers and lots of friends. So this is more about the politicized and the brass a-holes in policing that most police hate, right? They absolutely despise them because they're all backstabbing, lying politicians in a police uniform, right? So, but anyways, so they're worried that they could be targeted for harassment, threatened, or threatened and all that sort of stuff. They can be doxxed and whatever. However, what's very interesting is they didn't bring up the fact that what about that Give, Send, Go list of donors that were targeted and harassed and threatened by the RCMP and by law enforcement that, oh, you might have given to a political movement we don't like, so we're just going to slap on a pejorative and call you the T word. Remember that? Remember they? Oh yeah, these persons of interest that would donate to such a cause. Remember that? Remember that? The crowdfunding. Oh, the crowdfunding. And so we have a list of those people. Let's go and target and harass them or just intimidate them, right? So that was fine. It was fine for them to do that to all of us. But, God forbid. I mean, they don't learn. These people don't learn. Karma's a bitch, right? And sometimes things boomerang and smack you right in the face. And all of this, by the way, when they were intimidating people who donated to Give, Send, Go and sending signals that, oh, they could be in serious legal trouble. Remember that little bald guy who's the temp police chief in Ottawa? Remember that? We're gonna go after people. What did the so-called media, aka fake news, say? Did they say that is a violation of your human rights, your personal liberties, your legal ability to donate to charities or causes of your choice? No, they celebrated. They doubled down. So the crowd of defund the police all of a sudden started supporting the police when it came to targeting you. That's right, you. Don't forget that. We're always talking about you. But anyways, I don't know. I'm partially joking. I don't want any officers doxxed. I think the names of those officers should be made public, and maybe we could turn a negative into a positive. Maybe we could have because RCMP is really their domain is more the rural communities where there aren't local police forces and whatever. Maybe what we do is we find out the names of the officers from areas that were there, and we have a town hall together, not adversarial, and we talk about their experiences, what they can talk about, what the pressures that they were under, and what us truckers were doing, because I think there's going to be a lot of overlap. There's a lot of police officers that were not happy being involved and were dragged there. There were a couple of Gestapo, and by the way, Ottawa Gestapo is the funniest Twitter account. You gotta watch. You gotta check out this Twitter account. But maybe there's for all this truth and reconciliation, blah blah blah, whatever. We'll deal with it, right? We can do it together. But just give us the names of the officers. Allow us to reach out and put them together on a panel. Let's talk and let's talk about what they think they did wrong, what they feel bad about, whatever, and let's have some open dialogue. But is if they try to do that. Remember community engagement? Well, let's do community engagement together, right? This whole freedom convoy movement, let's get the cops and them together in the same room in different communities and let's talk. How quickly do you think those officers would be reprimanded? All these people in politics, in the bureaucracy, who talk all this bullshit about transparency. Okay, you want transparency? Let these officers off the hook. Send them their names. Let's reach out to them and let's heal the country together and do town halls, right? But anyways, that's not how the political class works. Anyway, it is what it is. Kiss Junkie says, I will... you're right, it would be comic relief. It's important. It is important. I heard the hack... Oh, I'm going to get to him in a second. I'll get to that in a second. He's talking about Aubrey, the hacker, who I think he's just on a lot of drugs. I think that there's a lot of that in like really intense gamers, programmers, whatever. They end up getting strung out in and have some problems. But anyways, but I think the whole point of the RCMP that I found great was they're playing the victim card. Like, oh my God, I can't believe they're trying that. Okay, all right. I don't think anybody buys that, and I think there's your strong, your men in blue, to serve and protect, but they're victims, right? And again, that's not officers on the beat. That's not even your detectives or whatever. That's the politicized garbage at the top who are politicians in a police uniform who are hated by, I don't know, from what I understand, 99.9% of officers below them. There are some exceptions. I do know there are some, there's a couple of chiefs that are still good, that are old school cops, but it's just been increasingly politicized over the years, and none of those cops can say anything, which is why I can say it, because at least I know, and I'm not on the force. I'm not going to be reprimanded, right? Okay, so the next, they were thugs, aggressive thugs. They were, but I was also, that's from, I should put your comments up here. Diana, yes, however, at the same time, I do have friends that are police officers who I was speaking with during the entire affair and during the crackdown was a little bit difficult because I was on the phone with lawyers the entire time, but there were a number of officers that were just mortified, and they're like, okay, I'm done. I'm retiring next year. I can put in early retirement, get a pension. I'm done. I'm out. And that's what this idiot in Ottawa did. He just completely demoralized police all over the world. And how he's still the temp chief, I have no idea. I think that's absolutely crazy. I still have those the text messages between the police. Is that the one that they were joking about when they're in the Château Laurier, and they're joking about how many people they're going to abuse and beat and all that sort of stuff? Sonia, if you do have that, can you send it to me on Twitter? I have it somewhere, but I'm so overloaded with stuff. But and Ryan says, it is the duty of every police officer to speak up or quit. Try to stay positive, but if you stay, you are the problem. Yeah, I agree, but then there's also two sides of the coin. So I have a very good friend of mine who's an officer, and his argument is, look, we know, and this guy's super understands like the woke crap, like better than most people in the Western world. And he said, if all these good officers quit, then all you're going to have is the politicized garbage. You're just going to have a bureaucracy of police officers. He says we need good officers to stay on the force and carefully navigate the political stuff behind the scenes. Because I know of a number of things that have happened that have politically trapped senior people in policing, or trapped MPs that have tried to meddle in investigations, or superintendents and stuff like that. So their argument is we need the good people on the inside to fight back within policing. So I don't know. I don't know which is the right way to go, but I figured You know, you always want somebody who's on the team on the inside trying to fight for what's right. So I think there might be some truth to that. Okay. So the next part that happened during by the way, yes, there's so much more detail I could get into, but we'll save a lot of detail for my testimony, and I also have to see where the chips land on the board, sort of thing. So yeah, but the next thing we saw was so yesterday there was two government bureaucrats, Steve K. I don't know why people can't pronounce his name. I now just know him as Steve K because no one will say his name. Okay. He was the first person to testify. There was a whole bunch of back and forth stuff that was quite funny, but he was you could tell he's not on anybody's side. And then Serge, who works for the mayor. I don't know if you caught Serge, but Serge was a little bit creepy. My guess is he and the mayor have a romantic relationship, but that's their business, not mine. And he works under the mayor very closely, I'm assuming. And what's really caught my attention is he referred to us or people other than the political class as civilians. Really creepy. Like, is he in the military? I didn't see a military uniform on him. What do you mean civilians? And that's a problem. That's like we talk about people who feel they're on the perch and they're untouchable. When people use language that way to distinguish between it's me versus the civilians, everybody else, that's a problem. I think he might be some sort of maniac. There's something not right about that guy. He's, but anyways, and he only speaks a language that I call weasel. He only speaks weasel. Means everything is bureaucratic jargon, acronyms, and to sow ambiguity and confusion and defer responsibility. And you only get that from somebody who has been in the bureaucracy way too long, way too long. Like he would answer questions and say something like, well, I'm not privy to that sort of conversations, but that's something that the PLA would have communicated to the OCP, and the OCP would have rerouted back to the mayoral's office, but that's not within our framework. That's how every question was responded to, and I'll explain that. And I don't have any ill will towards him, but not my type of person. I can tell you right away, face to face, I would absolutely hate him, and that's just the way it is. But he's there. I don't get along well with bullshit artists, right? And that's the government equivalent of a cheap car salesman, is what that shtick is, right? The nothing but veiled with overwhelming bureaucratic jargon to hope that it'll veil some of the things that were going on. But what was interesting was when he was trapped, and they were talking about Councillor Furry, the guy who speaks perfect English, but then all of a sudden decided he doesn't speak English when he didn't want to answer the definition of a word. And remember, they're progressives, so I'm going to get back to that. I explained the other day that that's what progressives, they get it from the communists. That's what they do. They redefine words, and they'll never agree with you on a definition of a word. Therefore, you can't engage in a conversation of objective fact, and everything becomes subjective. This is the strategy, right? And the one that we saw that really started in 2013, 2014, I think it was the word racism was being defined as racism doesn't mean you dislike somebody because of their race, which is exactly what it does mean. They try to propagandize people and university students. I saw it every day on university campus. They tried to propagandize these kids that racism, the definition of racism, is power plus privilege, which they would then sow into, well, white people. That's what it boils down to, right? But it's anyways, I could go on a tangent in this for an hour because of so much that I was involved. I was around and watched this brain disease spread. Read The Parasitic Mind by Gad Saad, by the way. A brilliant book that really articulates a lot of this stuff. But anyway, so he got Serge got trapped when around some question about Councillor Furry, who clearly was completely full of crap. Let's remember, by the way, these are all politicians. All of the people you're seeing are paid to lie. Their career is based on their ability to lie to you. That's who is in the commission. Always have that in the back of your head. So anyways, he got caught, and what did he say? He said, well, and you could see he switched the persuasion tactic, right? He went to a completely soft and submissive voice. He's in portrayal of somebody who's in the victim status. And he says to the commission, well, Councillor Furry, I'll call him Furry. Councillor Furry was under a tremendous amount of stress. And what his family had to deal with, it was just unconscionable. It was just terrible. That's what he did, right? Acting is a better actor than Trudeau is, that's for sure. So once again, what did he do? Now he's pointed out that the person who is the city councillor who is there, who smeared all of us, who lied about us, he's the victim. Once again, he said it himself. He's under a tremendous amount of stress. It's very difficult, his family and him and whatever, right? So we now have the RCMP are the victims, and the political class are the victims. That's why I posted on Twitter yesterday, only in Canada can you have the most privileged people who have all the political power over your lives. They think they control your lives, at least through the legislation and taxation and regulations around your business, and shut your business for 2 years that you would go bankrupt, as many people did. But they're the victims. You don't get to do, I'm sorry, you don't get to do that. You don't get to have all the political power and influence over what is happening in your jurisdiction or in our country, and then also pull out the victim card. That's what they do. But there's a reason they do that. There's a very important reason. And some of you may know, people who've learned about, postmodernism and postmodern philosophy. The reason they do that is strategic, right? That is their underlying philosophy. That is their worldview. That's why our worldviews are so different. And that's why even liberals, the problem is we put liberals into the same group as progressives. They're different. They have a different worldview. For example, Bill Maher is a liberal. I don't agree with a lot of his opinions, but he's a liberal who is finally starting to wake up on some of these issues, not understanding that, some of his worldview has led to this, but that's by the by sort of thing, right? But this is their worldview, because in the progressive world, and I'm going to tell you this for those of you who don't know, and you're going to think this is crazy. In their worldview, in the philosophy that governs their worldview and how they think, victimization is higher social status. Now think about that. I don't use the word capitalism, by the way. In the free market society, where we all have the freedom to trade and the freedom to engage in commerce, in the free market world that built the modern world, you get status by monetary achievement, building your business, being financially successful, being in social circles with people who are financially successful, people who accomplish things, people who build things. Even Nikola Tesla died without a penny in his name, although he had lots of success. That is somebody who we revere because they have achieved something and contributed something, right? So you gain social status by contribution. And we measure contribution, rightfully or wrongfully, often, but not always, by financial accomplishments. Okay? Fine. They're the opposite. Higher social status is the victimization, is where you are on the victimization chart. That's why they have the progressive stack. Do you know what the progressive stack is? See also Antonio Herbert, Marcuse, Mercuso. Yeah, you're listing all the postmoderns. There's a whole bunch of them. You get a star for that, David. We'll put that up there. And Stephen Hicks's book, Explaining Postmodernism, explains a lot of that. I'll get to locals in a second. Good morning, Suzanne, from St. Albert. We're just talking about the brain rot in the radical left and the progressives. So the reason our worldview, and this is also why you're seeing this trend right now in the world, and some of us don't understand it, some people do, that how are people who are, you hear this term often, classical liberal, amongst people who say they're conservative, right? They're slightly different. But the reason they're coming together, the reason people who are classically liberal and conservative are starting to find common ground amongst each other is because what they are objectivists, right? They're not subjectivists, which is the postmodern worldview that I'm going to talk about in a second. So they believe in this underlying philosophy that you have social status based on your accomplishments, whether it be monetary or contributions to society. The opposite of the progressives who think social status is heightened by your victimization status. So what is the progressive stack? For those of you who don't know, I used to see this on campus all the time, and that's was like, okay, I gotta get out of here. I gotta get out of this business. The progressive stack, you can see it. It's sometimes mapped out. You can search it online. It's been going on for like a decade now. It is a list of the hierarchy, which is funny. They all claim to not they don't believe in the kind like the conservatives do, but yet they want to use a hierarchy for their progressive stack. It's, everything they do is a contradiction. So the progressive stack at the very top, you have the most victimized person. So you have somebody who has, some gender challenges, disabled or some sort of disability. They are a visible minority because the progressives are all racist. They could be, all sorts of developmental challenges or whatever. That's the person who's the highest on the progressive stack. And then it goes down by different racial groups, different disabilities, different sexual preferences. And at the very bottom, the toilet, I guess you'd say, is how they look at it. At the very bottom are people who are Western, white, Christian, straight people, whatever. That's what's at the bottom of the progressive stack. That's why they're obsessed with visual minorities because, well, they're racist. It's basically all it is. So what they would do on campus is, if there was like a social meet or whatever it was, and you get to ask questions, you would have to come to the meeting and you would write down your name, your gender, your disability, your race, and all these qualifiers for the progressive stack. And instead of, like all of us, objective people, we allow people either with good points to speak or in order of which they came to the front of the line or in order of which you raise your hand. They don't do that. They do based on these arbitrary facts that you have no control over in your life, your race and gender and all that sort of stuff. That's how they would determine who gets to speak in their meetings. Like that is it's the exact same underlying philosophy as the KKK. It's racism, but it's with an out-group preference. Whereas the KKK or whites, whatever you want to call them, they are racists with an in-group preference. But it's the exact same line of thinking. It's no different in any way, shape, or form. And that's who you saw on the stand yesterday. That's who was speaking. And that came up in one of the questions from, I think it was you can see the Ottawa Police is getting woke. The council from the Ottawa Police and was talking about racialized communities. How about just communities? How about just communities? How about just the city of Ottawa, right? Like this brain rot, this cancer is expanding within our government institutions at a rapid rate, and we need to put an end to it right now. All right, let me go to locals and then the final thing. We'll talk about Ford. I'm sure some of you have some opinions about him. I heard the hacker psycho Aubrey is living in his car, but his equipment was seized by OPP, so he got his karma. Yep. What can you do? And Lisa says time for all the cops to get doxxed. Well, listen, that's not gonna solve things, but I do think it would be important to have some forum for us all to talk and come together, because I know many of the cops were not happy being there, and I felt something. You could see on the video, some of them were really, you could see the level of panic and stress and conflict in their eyes, that they just, and those are usually the ones that are standing off by the side and trying not to participate. So that two politicians can't talk. Politicians can't do that. Talking is what we would suggest by something politicians avoid. Okay, I was downtown almost every day. Oh, okay. I no longer trust the police after being shot in the head with a beanbag bullet. Wow. Wow, that must have hurt. I'm sorry to hear that. That really hurts. He also called the cops troops. Yes, they called very good point, Lisa. The people in locals are great. They called so he called us civilians. This was Surge, and he calls police troops. You don't get more progressive, veiled communist than that. That is a problem. That is a very serious problem. Okay. First two witnesses are top tier of the progressive stack, disabled and radicalized. Yeah, that's why they actually do that, right? It's all staged. It's not a coincidence that the first two witnesses were a visible minority and somebody with a disability, because that's their worldview. That's the worldview of people who are now in charge in government, in many cases, pretend to be the victims, and they're rabid racists like the KKK. And that's why they want to put people up based on their appearance and how they look and their race. That's a problem. That's a very big problem, and that is the rot that's destroying our society. First two, both women and female, of course. Right? You want to check off as many boxes on the progressive stack as possible. Anyways, I love how Gad Sad put it on Joe Rogan. He said, how did he describe it? He said, for the progressives, for the lefties, I check off all the progressive boxes. He says, I'm Lebanese, and he said, I can make tabbouleh, I speak Arabic, I'm brown, I'm from the Middle East. He said, but unfortunately, I'm Jewish, which nullifies all the other things on the progressive stack, because they're all rabid anti-Semites as well. So also, when you hear people spewing Jewish conspiracy theories, they're not right-wing, they're left-wing. They think they're right-wing, but they're left-wing, and they have zero understanding of philosophy. I think you know who I'm talking about. And if you don't know, it's that Diagolon idiot. He's not right-wing, he's a lefty. Okay, so Doug Ford. Did anybody see Doug Ford nuke his political career yesterday? I want to know your opinions on Doug Ford on the mainstreams. Let me know. I'm going to post them online. Just tell me what you think about Doug Ford while I'm talking. Doug Ford, I don't know. First, so he had that thing with Trudeau behind him, that True North put it out. The first thing I noticed is he looks like a short, old Eastern European babushka with osteoporosis. Or is that just me? Like, he looks like some old lady. Like, boy, that guy looks rough, right? Like, he never terribly attractive to begin with. But, yeah, he looks rough, man. He looks... Anyways, should get that osteoporosis looked after. But he stated that he was quite explicit in his support for Trudeau invoking the Emergency Measures Act. Could it be that the extremists at the CBC were right about Doug Ford when they said he's kind of a tool, he's not very smart, that he doesn't have for them, they want an academic background for everybody, and that's not possible. But just aside from street smarts of, I don't know, selling drugs behind a Tim Hortons, does he have anything else? Like, yeah, okay, you know what? He took over his dad's business and helped it grow. So I'll give him credit for that. There's no question. But you know, from a philosophical and academic perspective, perhaps he's a little bit lacking. Perhaps, like, who says that? Who says that I, Doug Ford, conservative, support Prime Minister Blackface, the most racist prime minister to hold office in Canadian history? I support him beating the crap out of my voter base. Like, he says, oh yeah, these folks were, and I responded, I'm like, you have to pardon my language here. And you have to excuse me, I have no choice. I'm not testifying here, so this is kind of, but, he put out that these folks were obstructing the Ambassador Bridge. Firstly, those were not the people in Ottawa. That everything was decentralized. That was another group of people. But my second argument would be, Doug Ford, those are the people who voted for you, you dumb fuck. Like, how stupid are you? Like, oh my God. No wonder he is the least popular leader of the Conservative Party, and there are so many people in that party that have been trying to get rid of him and throw him under the bus since day one. And I think they should. They did it to Boris Johnson in the UK. You can do it in a little provincial party in Ontario. Like, just get rid of him. Just throw him aside, Anyways. Doug Fraud, he did a complete 180. Ford totally believed he's a liberal. He's worse. He's worse than Kathleen Wynne. He spends more money than Kathleen Wynne, and he's more woke than Kathleen Wynne because, he's just a moron. And you're a moron like that, you're very easily influenced by philosophy when you don't understand your own core philosophy, which he doesn't understand. Agreed. Why did not vote Conservative this year? And Kiss Junkie, I didn't vote Conservative either. I hope you guys. I don't want to get into the political fight, please. The only thing I'm gonna say, I'm gonna do this one plug, and don't get angry at me for it. We'll discuss it at a later date. But I hope you threw a vote for Belinda Kalaharios and the Kalaharios' party. That's all I'm gonna say. Don't get angry at me. And you'll understand why over the future. I mean, that was the one person that was in Doug Ford's cabinet that voted against Bill 195. The only person, right? And Kiss Junkie, that's who I voted for. Yeah, I voted for her too. Yeah, so I think we all understood that there was a little bit of a shell game going on with these other fake parties. But it is what it is, and at least there's another alternative. There's another party, and hopefully that party will grow in time to get rid of Doug Fraud in the next election. Doug Ford is nothing but a knob gobbler. Lori, the wrong Ford passed away. Absolutely. You know what? Absolutely. And Jim has said many times that that his brother Rob said that my brother Doug is a pinko. That was the joke he would say. He's a pinko. You should try to interview Doug Ford's daughter, Christy, however to spell her name. She's against the mandates. I do believe her husband is. I think we're trying to reach out to her for an interview for the book. And so I'm not going to say anything more than that. But yes, I'm completely aware of her, Lori. Thank you very much for that. And with this stream, I don't think I'm going to be interviewing people. It's just. It's too much. I have too much going on right now. Yeah, then you're booking guests and all that sort of stuff. It's better it would be better if she started a podcast. I would go on as a guest, and I bet you she would have lots of other people wanting to be guests on her show. So if you know her, tell her, get into this and start podcasting and build a show around her. She would be, just capitalize on the fact that, my dad is a complete lunatic, right? There you go. There's the name of the podcast. My father's a lunatic. Let her know. Anyways, she needs help or any guidance. I'm more than willing to help her out and give her some suggestions. I didn't understand what that means. I heard you say Doug Ford. That kind of said it all. Oh, well, yeah, yeah, agreed. And it's funny. I wonder. You can tell me. Say if you voted for him, just say yes. How many of you, just put in the chat, did you vote for Doug Ford the first time he became premier? I'm just curious, how many of you people who know that he's a fraud voted for him when he first got into office? Just put yes in the comments. I want to see what comes up. Already, yes, yes, yes. Yeah, okay, on locals, we got a bunch of yeses. Yeses, I voted. And then yes, but then voted for True Blue. It's not True Blue, it's New Blue. New. Nuevo. Nueva Azul. The victims, my ass. Oh, here we go. Yeah, the victims, my ass. They're the ones who started the Gong Show. All that was required was for the government leadership to talk to them. Yes, that's it. That's, I said so many interviews, and I did so many of them. Here we go. Yeah, with the more comments here. There's a little bit of a lag. That about did you vote for Doug Ford? Yes, I voted for. Then I voted for New Blue, and then yes, voted Doug Ford. Not the second time. Yeah, so I think everybody here voted for Doug Ford and realized he's a fraud and didn't vote for him the second time. So yeah, Doug Ford chasing those CBC viewers, moron. Belinda second time. Yeah, Belinda and Jim are really nice people, actually. I've gotten to know them pretty well over the years. And, we have some differences of opinion, but in general, we're all in the same sphere of free speech and just personal freedom and liberty and all that sort of stuff, which is why she voted against Bill 195. And by the way, now Doug Fraud implemented Bill 100 resulting from the Freedom Convoy that gives him, I think, most of the emergency powers permanently. Permanently. That's the monster. And guess what? You know what he's done? When he's out of office, God forbid, we got a liberal government, they would have those powers over you. So that's why I say philosophically, he's a moron. He's not a deep thinker. He doesn't have an academic bone in his body because he can't think 5 steps ahead. Beyond being sneaky and throwing other people the bus and stabbing them in the back, that he's good at, but that's about it, right? Anyways, listen, we got to stop. People got to stop taking the bait on these fake parties that are designed to move social conservatives away from other parties that have a chance. That's the game that they play. So they try to build these fake parties that are funded by the establishment conservative parties to ensure, and they're always targeting the social conservatives for whatever reason. I don't know why. You guys are the targets. And so they build these fake parties and say, okay, and it's a grift. It's a money operation. And it's to move a voting block of people to give them, to separate their votes so they go somewhere else. And the new party that actually could have momentum and actually could be real doesn't get enough momentum to get on the ground. That's why for 100 years we have the same parties. We have the Liberal Party and the Conservative Party, and now the NDP, is because whenever there is a new emerging party, the big money that can't give millions of dollars to the party, they'll just set up all these proxy organizations that will. Anyways, it's a whole voting strategy. When you get into politics, you see how this stuff goes on. That's why I tell people, I want nothing to do with it. That's why I walked away from it or stepped away from it. Everybody's so full of crap. It's so horrible. But at the same time, listen, you vote for who you want. I'm never going to admonish you. If you vote conservative, PPC, New Blue, even liberal for whatever reason, maybe you like the candidate and you're riding and you know the person, I'm never going to give you a hard time. You have the right to vote for whoever you want. And I'm going to be very respectful. We'll disagree and we can talk about it, but I'm not going to shout you down, and we got to stop that. That's what happens on Twitter. When people say, oh, I like the, what you name the candidate, right? Oh, I like this conservative party, and so I can't vote, or I like PPC. Oh, you're just, you're destroying us. No, let people have a civil conversation. You vote for who you want, and that's it. Okay, anyways. So, back to Doug Fraud, and then I'm going to finish up. So, Serge Arpin, he kept mentioning Dean French. So, Dean French, for those of you who don't know, was Doug Ford's chief of staff, and I think he still is, but I'm not sure, Doug Ford's personal money manager. He was. I don't think he is not anymore. But yeah, that's Doug Ford's guy. So he kept mentioning Doug Ford's guy was meeting with the city. Okay. All right. Fine. And then coincidentally, the same day, The National Post was there with an article, and remember, fake news is everywhere, okay? The National Post was there with an article on Dean French, and it was, I guess it was an op-ed saying, why I negotiated on behalf of the truckers. Okay. Yeah, I'm curious. I'm curious. Now, for those of you who are new here, I was on the GoFundMe, and I was in Ottawa, in the hotels, speaking to Tamara, I don't know, 10 times a day on the 2 days that I wasn't there. She's calling, we were calling like every hour, every half hour, different things were going on, and we're in communication all the time in Ottawa, coming into my room, going into her room, and whatever. How many times do you think I met Dean French? How many times? Take a guess. Somebody throw out a number. Locals, there's less of a lag. Tell me, how many times, Kiss Junkie or Beth, how many times do you think that I met Dean French, the person negotiating for the truckers? Oh, very good. 0. Yes. 0 times. I don't even know what he looks like. Like, what? Okay. So Dean French was negotiating. Now, there is some nuance there, because there is the JCCF and Keith and Eva and whatever, but that we'll get into that into my testimony. But I'm watching this. I remember I was working on something, and I hear him saying, I thought Dean French would be a good partner. I'm like, what? What am I listening to? Hold on, huh? Oh, it's just so funny. Anyways, people are all screwballs in politics. Don't trust any of them. It just now I understand that when I ran as a candidate, it was weird because I just got involved because I thought, at first I ran in this in city council to make one of the idiots look stupid, and I did, at least on 1 or 2 news programs where we got to debate, and I ripped her apart. And then I just continued and ended up being asked to be a candidate for the Conservatives federally. And as soon as I met people, they'd say, "Oh, all you politicians are the same," and with such vitriol. And I'm like, I'm just kind of new here. Why are you saying that? Okay, fine. But now I understand. Like I get it. I always had some contempt for them, but wow. But yeah, 0 times. Anyways, 0.0. That's where I need the meme from Animal House. Anyways, so just in summation of what did we see yesterday, I can summarize it in a very, very simple way to give it context. What we saw on day 3, and those of you who have worked in government or large corporations know exactly what this is. I've worked at a few large corporations as well, and I saw this all the time. What we saw was several hours of people using weasel words and political jargon for what could be surmised with, I don't know, send it over to whoever, let them deal with it. I don't know, let them deal with it. I mean, we've all worked at big companies, and most of us here have worked at large corporations, large businesses, or government bureaucracies. And how often have you had a problem come across your desk? And for those of you who have been in this environment, and you don't know what to do with the problem. Let's call it your TPS reports. I don't know. Your TPS reports, hopefully you guys get the reference, come across your desk, and you're like, I don't know, this one's not filled out right. What do I do? And your boss or somebody in accounting or whatever says, oh, just send it over to Jim's department. Let him deal with it. That's his problem. Or send it over to logistics. That's their problem. And then it comes back to you 2 days later and says, well, I have this thing again. Well, now it's an email. What do I do with this? Well, send it over to, I did. They didn't do it. Okay, well then send it over to Mary's department. Let her deal with it. That's what happened in Ottawa with all these experts in government. They're experts at the jargon, but they're not experts at doing anything. All it was, I don't know, Send that, that's PLA's problem. They can deal with it. Or Ottawa Police, I don't know, they'll let the RCMP deal with it. It's federal jurisdiction. And the federal jurisdiction say, no, it's the city of, go to the mayor. It's his city. He can deal with it. Everybody deferring responsibility to somebody else. That's our bloated government. That's why it needs to be cut down to 20% of the size that it is now. Because there's all these, not just weasel words, weasel acronyms of weasel institutions. They can just blame, oh, it was, the PLA. It was the Ottawa Police. It was the tactical division. No, it was the super tactical division. No, that's the triple super tactical division. No, that's not the channel of which the information goes to. First, it's got to go to, the Service Bureau desk, and then the Service Bureau desk has to review it. And then once they review it, they're going to send it over back to the PLA for approval. And then the PLA goes to the mayor's office and whatever. That's what we're dealing with. Oh, and the other thing with Serge, the creep, one of the things he said, if you notice, it would be highly unusual for the mayor ever to engage with anything other than, what did he describe it as? I can't believe it was describing MPs or senior officials or something like that. Like, oh, yeah. Your mayor is above talking to us plebs. To us, the mayor doesn't talk to us. He just, kisses people's ass in an election, and then it's, oh yeah, go fuck yourself when I'm in power. That's the attitude from Serge, right? And anything they got to take responsibility for? No, that were three different. We have a multi-layered system of a process and systems of which all these decisions will get ratified and reviewed and approved, and that's what you saw all day long. And it simply was, that's not our job. That's what you saw yesterday, all day long. People trying to getting out of the corner they backed themselves into with that phrase, that's not my job. And we've all seen that from government bureaucracies. And, well, that's where we are. So they seem to admit that nothing was their job. So why don't we fire them all? It's just me. Anyways. So I hope I'm trying to share this in a kind of a lightheaded manner in which that this is enjoyable and funny. Like, I was laughing the whole time. Like, you shouldn't be getting angry. Getting angry is not going to solve the problem, right? We got to stay positive and enjoy the clown show. The clown car is going to come up this morning. I guess it's already started, and they're all getting out, and we'll have to see what visible traits people have who get on the stand today. And yeah, I don't know. Serge looked awfully white. He must be a white supremacist. This is kind of what I was thinking. I was quite shocked. Why doesn't he do his duty and quit and put somebody? I won't use that phrase POC because I remember Mississippi burning and I remember how racist that phrase is, and I refuse to use it. But anyways. It was passing the buck, and they're all trying to cover their asses now because they know they were passing the buck during the convoy when all they had to do, one of two things. First was all of this, and I said this on so many interviews, Prime Minister Blackface and Omar and that little group, they just have to do what they did now. They've already done it, and we knew they were going to do it. Lift the mandates and get rid of the data tracking app. That's all they had to do. That's it. And everybody would have turned around and gone home because then people could have gotten back to work, which is what they wanted to do. They needed to cross the border to work. And the government had this sadistic policy that prevented them from working, and it killed off their livelihood. They couldn't make money. They couldn't pay their bills. They couldn't put food on their table. That's why they were there. They're desperate. All they had to do was drop these stupid policies that made no sense, and everybody would have gone home. All of this could have been avoided. Could have been done on the first day. Said, you know what? This is what leadership is from a politician. You know what? We've heard you. We understand. What we're going to do is give us 2 weeks, give us a week, whatever. We're going to start rolling it out now, and that's it. That's all they had to do. And or at least try to talk to us so we can explain that to them. But they didn't. They didn't. Of all the steps that the government could do, all the things they could resort to, They went to the last resort and missed all the steps ahead of it. They went to the one that is when there's an existential threat to the country. I don't think trucks parked illegally and honking for the first couple of days, and then the rest of it was quiet, but I don't think illegal trucks parked illegally is an existential. Firstly, it's not even existential, so right away, or nor a threat to the country. So it's complete bullshit. It's horseshit that they're selling you. And they know it. They know it is. So let's watch them squirm, because that's what's going to happen for the next several weeks. And then again, like I say, don't get frustrated when the report comes out. Convoy bad, government bad. Don't do it again. Here's the recommendations for the future that will be ignored, and that's it. And then we'll be into an election. I'm pretty sure. K9 says that's because the actor who destroyed the convoy from within was there. No, not a protester, not a trucker. Yeah, you know what's funny is, like, I don't know why people are trying to spread rumors that I'm not a trucker. Okay, I'm not a career trucker. I've not been a trucker for 25 years, but I own a truck. I pay the bills. I get in the truck. It's, I'm gonna do it today. We all change careers from time to time, and one day I'll explain how I got into it if I haven't already. But the actor, yeah, so that came out in the past day or so. I don't know who found that. Was it you who found that, or somebody else? Somebody told me that one of the people who is not a trucker, who has an IMDb number, that's a number for actors. So, yeah, there's a whole lot of shenanigans that were going on. You're going to find out more, I promise. And I'm listening to it. What is this? Canine Tracker Search and Rescue. I'm listening to it. Also sick. Okay, fine. David agreed. There are several lawsuits filed in the United States. David E. Martin, Dr. Henry. Okay, fine. Grand jury proceedings. Yeah, there's going to be litigation all over the world now. Now that's people are just going to go nuts with it. Lori says Watson testifies today. Oh, well, his boyfriend testified yesterday, I think. Maybe it's just speculation. Listen, have lots of gay friends. I kind of know how that world works. I wouldn't be surprised. And but whatever. That's I'm neither here nor there, and I don't really care. You do you, I do me, and let's all get along, sort of thing. Kathy, good morning. Good morning, Kathy. And oh yeah, K9 sent the K9. I'm going to reserve going to detail on that right now because I don't want to have unnecessary arguments yet. But if you feel and others feel the need to share that, by all means, I endorse you. But I talk about that in the book a little bit. I'm telling it's important for people to know what was going on behind the scenes. So a lot of what you'll read in the book is related to the things that you're seeing in the hearing right now. And, we rushed and scrambled to get the book out in time where I knew there would be something around this time of year. I just didn't know when. And so things are lining up nicely, and books will start shipping before the end of the commission, and on Friday the pre-sale is available. And you see on my Twitter account I have it posted there, a picture of the cover and the back cover. So I'm going to be already lining up some interviews around the book as well. There's going to be a lot more to come out, and that book is going to give you a lot of context to what you're seeing in these hearings. Trudy, too much of a narcissist. He wanted to squash the old stock Canadians. He wants to make life miserable for Canadians because he can. Teflon Boy needs to be charged for treason and crimes against humanity. Don't you think Doug Ford should as well? Because those were his police forces. And Doug Ford agrees with Trudeau and supports the invocation of the Emergency Measures Act. Oh, and Doug Ford sought the injunction to block your donations to Give, Send, Go. That was Doug. That was Doug who did that. And that's why all the money is now in escrow. And it's always a legal challenge to defend ourselves now. That's Doug Ford who did that piece of shit. Sorry. I'm supposed to say POS and not point of sale, but it is what it is. Sorry. Just bad boy. I'll behave during my testimony, I promise. And for those of you who get upset at profanities, I apologize. I will do my best not to, because I know that upsets some people. Absolutely, Doug Ford needs to be held accountable. And I think we need more and more people to do that. I think Prime Minister Blackface is a lame duck at this point. He's completely irrelevant. And I think there's a number of people in government who are just embarrassed by him and have just moved on. And yeah, they can ask whatever they want. They're not getting it because he's embarrassed the country all over the world. He's a joke everywhere. So next is Doug Ford's turn, I think. But we'll see what happens. And that's an example where, we always complain that we don't like that the bureaucracy has a political bent and they should be impartial. And I think for the most part they are. There are some exceptions, right? I'm talking about people who work in all the various ministries, because I do have friends who, I have a friend who's kind of a liberal. He works for the government. He's bounced from ministry to ministry. But he's a really centered guy, and he has no animosity towards Christian conservatives or conservatives in general. He's worked with people in the Bloc Quebec, and so I disagree with him, but I have friends there. So he's really, I respect him for that he's very objective and very I have my philosophical worldview, but I have to protect everybody else's worldviews. And if we have those sorts of people across the spectrum, then Canada's going to get a lot better. We just got to get away from the radicalization of people and singling out different groups. Studies show that profanity used as insertion in your communication is apparently a sign of a genius. Well, I don't know, I don't know that I'm a genius, Suzanne, but I'll take mildly intelligent, I guess. Because it's a necessary form of emphasis that it's an emotive way to communicate. That's the problem, and that's why it's used in movie scripts. There's a reason for that, but I do understand that there are people who get upset with it, and it's not parliamentary language, even though Blackface himself used it a number of times. So it is what it is. In general, a general in the U.S. and Canada, a weak country with weak Trudeau as head. Yes, that's part of it, Claudette, for sure. But anyways, okay, I think I'm going to shut it all down. I hope you go enjoy the clown show today, and don't get upset, don't get angry when they call you names. Just laugh, enjoy the show. Because at some point I and the others will be testifying, and hopefully you'll see the truth of what was going on behind the scenes. And if you don't, you can always buy my book, Honking for Freedom, and the pre-sale will be available on Friday. There will be a link. You'll be able to go there. You'll be able to pre-order it. And I'm going to be, I think, on my first podcast or interview around the book on Sunday with Clyde Do Something's YouTube channel. Got about 100,000 people follows him, focused on a lot on the convoy. Good dude from out west. And so I'll be there. I don't know if he does it live or he records it, but we're going to be doing something on Sunday night. And I'm sure we're going to have lots to talk about. Okay, go have an amazing day. Don't get angry. Don't get frustrated. Be good to everybody. Be nice to all the people in your life or all the people you interact with. It's going to make you feel better. Your subconscious is always watching. And if we maintain that positive state, then guess what? None of this nonsense is really going to bother us, because it is what it is, and that's life. And some people are just never going to change their minds, and all they're going to do is lie. All right.